What's up, YouTube? I want to be clear. I'm not against marriage, but I feel like there has to be certain, conditions that exist before you decide to marry somebody, both for the women and for the men. Um, and honestly, before one gets into marriage, um, I feel that the burden of proof is on the woman. And the viewpoint I'm taking is that the man is educated, right, or professional, or a man who has his shit together, right. So if a man who has his affairs in order wants to marry a female, um, regardless if she's just as professional as he is, or less, the burden of proof, the burden that she is worthy, um, is on her. It's up to her to prove it. Why? I'll tell you why. In a divorce, the man loses all his leverage. This is not even coming from, the male point of view. If you just look at other people who've been divorced, you read up on the laws, you'll see clearly that, the man loses out. The only scenario in which a man doesn't lose out is if the woman he's with or married to makes more money than him, substantially more money than him, and there's no kids involved, right? So if two people are married and, the man's making, let's say 40 and she's making 100, if they divorce, hopefully he stands to get, some money off of her. But if there's kids involved, it doesn't really matter, because then you factor in the cost of living and all this other stuff, and I know about this stuff because, my parents got divorced after 20 years of marriage. So, and I was old enough to understand what was happening. I was able to read over some of the paperwork that my parents used to show me. So in that situation, right, that's when the man has the leverage. And I know the logical question is, oh, Pink, you're assuming that women are the causes of divorce. I'm not saying that by any means. I've known dudes to, I know dudes to be the cause of their marriage falling apart. I spent some time working at a gym. I think it was my second year in college, and you wouldn't be surprised with all the people I talked to, all the ex-husbands who just couldn't get their shit together, who were cheaters, who were all these other things. And they confided in me. Don't know why, but they did. And so they were paying me anyway, so I might as well, be entertained. But anyways, but still they got hosed, right? So if a man fucks up his relationship, his marriage, he's still gonna pay for it. My dad did the same thing. He paid for it. So whether the wife fucks it up or the man fucks it up, the guy still pays for it, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, we've seen it all the time. I mean, you can have an NBA player, cheat on his wife, she divorces him, he pays for it, right? But in the words of Shaq, in his situation, when he was married to that his last wife, she was the one who was being unfaithful to him, right? So, and he still has to pay for it. So it doesn't really matter who ends the marriage, because the dude is always liable, right? He's gonna have to pay. Even if they're both making the same amount, right, and she has kids, he's still gonna have to pay. So there's no condition other than when the dude is making a whole lot more or less than a woman, does he then have leverage, right? We know this. That's why women are so eager to marry somebody who's doing better than them or just as well. We all know this. This is not a secret. It's really not a secret. Simply because the whole act of leverage. So this is why I say the burden of proof is on the woman to show that, hey, you know what I mean? I'm not going to pull a 180 when we do get married. I'm not going to do you dirty. Right? Because there is nothing stopping a woman who's made up her mind that this marriage is going to work and I'm going to wall out. You can involve all the preachers you want to. You can go through all the interventions and all that other stuff, it's not going to stop a determined woman. Just think about the power she has. We've all seen it. We all watch TV. We've seen the athletes. We've seen the entertainers. Not just black people, even the white people. They marry the girl who, does their hair, does their dry cleaning, or the personal assistant. It doesn't work out. This and this happens, and they walk away with a cool amount of money. Don't get me wrong. I believe that, if you do get divorced, you should help out the other partner. But they walk away as if they put half on whatever, the man did to get to where he is. They act like she helped him shoot a jump shot. Or she helped him win that Grammy. Right? Which is not the case. So, got off topic a little bit. But, so the burden is on her to prove that, she is going to be the person that she wants credit for. And you prove that with time. Now, in my opinion, and it's kind of changing, I don't really feel that you can ever be 100% sure that in marriage your wife is not going to change on you. But I don't, it doesn't seem like women nowadays want to put in that time and it's, an attempt to appease that part, of the man that's telling him, I don't know if I want to get married to this chick. Right? Because the burden is on them to prove their worthiness. Right? In my eyes, marriage should just be a formality. The whole act of, getting the tux and, getting married in the church should just be, like putting your name after you finish writing the essay. Right? Putting the name and date on the paper after you write the essay. So all the work is done. Right? The content, everything is there. The only thing that's left to do is, put your name on it, staple it. Right? That's how I feel. There shouldn't be any surprises, and that comes with time. So personally, I feel like you shouldn't be able to tell a difference between a married couple and a couple who's thinking about getting married simply because she needs to prove, and this goes for the men too, there has to be, your life has to be just as if you were married. So both sides get an actual picture of what's going on. Or, the male. There's really no incentive for the women to wait for this point. Because whether the marriage fails or, does well, she's guaranteed something. So it's really for the sense of security for the man. So, think about it. I know I'm going to have some people who disagree and say otherwise. But before, I've had this conversation with women who've agreed with me. Right? I've had this conversation with women who do feel like they need to prove themselves worthy of being married, regardless of their level of education and what they're doing, because they understand from a rational standpoint that in divorce the man is, screwed, not simply because the woman wants to screw him over, but because the way the law is written, he will be screwed over. And it's also the reason why women, always want a man who's doing better than them or just as good as them, simply because when stuff falls apart, they want to walk away with everything they have, intact. So, tell me how you feel.